So I got done with Pearl, and it was very, very good. But I do think it's a little bit more flawed than even some admirers have kind of hinted at. But it is a very, very good work. So what is going on with Pearl? Well, apparently this is part of a trilogy that is being mapped out with Mia Goth. I accidentally am seeing the first one because the sequel was released earlier, so I'm actually seeing it in the correct sequential order. Definitely after this, I'm very curious how the rest of the trilogy will work out, and I do want to look at quote part two before Maxine part three. In this iteration, we're basically getting a backstory with Pearl and why she acted the way she did in the sequel, and getting more of her profile. It's a very, very strange film. Even calling it a horror film might be a little distorted. It's sort of a mixture of a fantasy film, a psychological thriller, and many, many other genres, including the musical. So it's a very ambitious, though interestingly very small story. So it's very intensely focused on Pearl, her psychology. We do meet several other people. So it is, quote, a large cast, but it is centrally focused on Pearl and her mood swings and why she does what she does. And as per, quote, a horror film, there are many interesting scares. I will say, as many others have said, this is paced at a certain level. I didn't mind the pace, I didn't find it too slow, but others may find it a little frustrating how long it takes before, quote unquote, the kills happen or some action occurs. If you are the type that wants, quote, the horror to come quickly, this may not be for you. You will have to wait a while as they build up the moments. The way they are built up is pretty solid. I did, however, find one scene in particular more laughable. There is a lot of comedy here, but I don't know if it was meant to be comedic. And I do think Mia Goth is very, very compelling. I don't know if it's an Oscar worthy performance. I will say, though, I did find this comparatively much stronger than what happened with Toni Collette with Hereditary. A lot of people were swearing she was robbed. It's jaw droppingly good. Not to me. I found it really kind of silly, kind of obvious, and she was just running around screaming. I wasn't too impressed. I did find Mia Goth much more impressive. I don't know if she deserves a lot of awards for what she did, but it's very, very good. I already think that this is going to make my top 10 of the year list. It is very, very strong. I wouldn't say it's up there with Prey. It's not a 9 out of 10 kind of film, but it is very, very strong. I will say though, this is more sort of aimed at film lovers. If you're really into cinema, you're gonna get a lot out of this. I think the reason the sequel worked is because that was keyed into sort of cinema of the 1970s. This is really focused on cinema of the 1930s, 1940s, right down to the way things are shot, composed, the staging of events, and even the acting style. It may work for people if they're long-term film fans, but if you're just much more of a plain old horror fan, you may be puzzled or kind of find things a little bit too silly at times, and it doesn't meet your expectation of the way a quote modern horror film should be. Even though I do think Pearl is quote unquote a horror icon, she's not typical like Jason or Freddy or Michael Myers. She's not scary in that way. It's more of someone who's very, very disturbed, and you're sort of waiting and watching as that is going to explode and why it takes so long for her to get there, how she justifies her actions, and how frightening she is to herself because she thinks she's been robbed, she deserves more, and she's willing to do whatever it takes to get what she needs. And there were some pretty effective scare moments in what does not happen. Yes, it's sort of like the absence of action is sometimes very, very scary. I'm not going to say more than that. I will just say things will not go the way you think. It seems like as if the scene is set up to definitely go a certain way, and it is already very frightening. It doesn't go that way. And then things just happen, which you think would be, oh, okay, I think, and nope, it just goes in a whole other direction. It's very, very strange. It's very, very odd. And the characters, thankfully, are very intelligent. It seems like they don't know what Pearl is up to, but nope, they know kind of who she is, and the dialogue is very, very intelligent and smart. So this is aimed at a very intelligent kind of horror audience, and it is though a small film, and you will see the budget, but I think they've spent the money wisely with costumes and making it feel as if this is a very viable world. And of course, it's not really the 1930s, 1940s. It is set earlier, but I think they're kind of playing with the timeline. That's probably going to bring a lot of questions to bear. Is the setting what we think it is? Is it really set much earlier in the 20th century or much later? Are things happening in her mind? Is this all fantasy? It's a lot of intriguing questions you're going to get after seeing this film. It's a very strong contender. I don't know if it's as perfect as people say it is. I did find it effective for the most part. It is very good. I would urge people to see it. If you can't afford a movie ticket, then please pay for it on DVD. It definitely should get a lot of support. I'm going to give this an 8.25. A few flaws. I didn't find the music as compelling as I should have, but the central performances are very good, very strong, and this is fairly scary, but not perhaps in a straightforward, gross horror sense, but in sort of unsettling your mindset in terms of what you expect a character to do and why she does it. So, a very strong recommendation for Pearl.